Judge Fleener from Butler County. Thank you all for joining us. As a housekeeping note, I would like to remind all board members that are on with us in Zoom that when we're voting, to please keep your cameras on. And when you are making a motion or a second, would you please say your name before you make that motion or second? Thank you very much.
Over to me.
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. John Swords here. It's good to see everybody. Just as a technicality, we are still waiting on one more person for a quorum. And so we may jump around on the agenda, and if we get quorum, then we'll come to the voting actions. We only have 2 voting actions today. They're pretty straightforward. So we'll get kicked off. The focus of today's board meeting is going to be strategic goal number 3. We're really going to zoom in on that today. That's our strategic goal that really talks about workforce participation and getting people back into the workforce. We'll as part of that discussion, you're going to hear about efforts that we're doing to support several niche populations: our new American community, our reentry and recovery community, our military veteran community. So we're going to talk about those in detail, and then we're going to provide you a lot of details and a lot of numbers of how we utilized WIOA and tornado money this last program year. The program year being July 1st of 2022 through June 30th of 2023. So we're going to show you down to the penny of how we spent money across the 10 counties with both the WIOA pot of money and the tornado pot of money that we've had. And we'll also show you kind of how we divvied up our staff time and spread out across the 10 counties to serve this region. So there'll be a lot of detail there that we'll get into here in a little bit. And then once we wrap up with that section, we'll conclude this meeting with an update on our workforce participation efforts that we've been after for quite a while now. So with that, I'll start to wrap up. It looks like Judge Mason has joined us out of Simpson County. So welcome, Judge Mason Barnes. Welcome, Judge Fleener. Welcome, Judge Baker. We're glad to have you guys on. We also have Dr. Robert Boone joining us today from Career Team. It's good to see an old friend joining us this morning. So with that, Brian, while I've been yakking away, quorum?
No, Deronda, do we have quorum? Any other board member reps that we needed? Yes.
No, I'm sorry, we're still one business rep.
Okay, so we're still missing our business.
So Madam Board Chair, I would recommend that we skip agenda item number 3 for the moment, which is approval of the June 8 minutes. And once we get quorum, we'll come back to it.
Okay, I can go ahead and move down to agenda item number 4 and give you our executive committee updates from July 12th. Our executive team met on July 12th, and John gave us an overview of several things. We had 5 agenda items to go over. Our workforce participation activities, a notification of a Kentucky WIOA State Planning Forum, an update on recent grant submissions, and notification that the annual state monitoring had been completed. The next item on our agenda pertained to our WIOA budget. John gave us an overview of that budget and how those funds are allocated and shared between the workforce board and career team. So as I give you all these updates, this is always discussed later on in our agenda as well. The third agenda item was an update on putting Kentuckians first. John shared Kentucky Adult Education wanted to fund 3 new reentry navigator positions, 2 of those for the Cumberlands and 1 for South Central via a contract with South Central. John went over the contract in detail, explaining how that funding will work for those new positions. And there'll be more on that in here in just a few minutes. Our next agenda item, John provided an update on the 2 nonprofits affiliated with the board. We have Employerward and My Workforce Future. Sorry, I can't talk this morning. He will give us in-depth update on these organizations later on as well. And last, our executive committee received an update on the board's 2023 goals. So do we want to move on down to agenda item number 6?
John, real quick, we have 2 people that have joined by phone. We don't know who they are.
Okay,
So,
well, let's ask him.
so we see that there's 2 people that have joined the Zoom by phone, but if you could have you identify yourself, we just want to make sure we're not missing a board member.
Amy Settles with Career Team joined. Hey, everyone.
Hello.
Good morning, Amy. So we have an 859 area code that's dialed in. Could you please identify yourself?
Okay, we have a 270-772-4212. Could you say who you are? No. Okay.
Mystery callers, welcome. Come on, everybody's welcome. Okay, so we still don't have quorum. I'm diligently watching my phone to see if we get it. So let's just move on to agenda item number 6 and we'll just dive right in.
Okay.
Howard, we'll come back to you shortly, I hope. All right, so one of the things that we did this year is that was new this year back in the first part of the year is we set out some big hairy aspirational goals, and then we set out very specific goals for each of our 4 strategic goals. And so that's how we report back to you on these every time we have a board meeting throughout the year. So let's go forward one, Brian. So these are the big aspirational goals. So the first one was to relocate the Bowling Green Career Center. That's been a long time goal of this organization. That was Dr. Boone's vision several years ago and remains mine. It's not been an easy undertaking. COVID really slowed us down for a while. And honestly, there's been very modest movement on it this year. I think, kind of what we're exploring right now is that the local Goodwill is they're getting ready to double their space. They have a location that's across from Zaxby's on the bypass here. And they want to do in Bowling Green what they've done in Louisville. In Louisville, they're in the process of building out a very large space, and they're inviting all the community partners in Louisville to come in at basically the cost of what it costs them to build out the space. So they want to make it so affordable that every partner in the community comes in. And so they have the same vision here, and right now they're, that has not, they have not started, but according to the local Goodwill director, that should move forward here pretty soon. And if they are waiting on some funding, if they get the funding they need, then this space will be built out by next spring, late next spring, probably April, May timeframe. So we'll see. If that's going to move forward, I'll just stay in conversation with them and try to get an idea of what that might cost. Okay, next. All right, so early, back in January, we wanted to make sure that there was a summer heavy equipment training program. That was the vision of many community partners and that actually did occur. So there's no change there. Sky CTC offered that up, and we had 11 folks. A total of 11 folks went through it. 10 of them were funded through our funding. And then lastly, secure external funding for position continuity. The update here is that we did receive the full amount of funding from the city of Bowling Green and Warren County Fiscal Court. All those funds have come in, so we've secured that. And we do have a grant that that's out there right now. We won't get feedback on it for probably 6 more weeks, but we've got a grant that if we get, we could utilize it to help fund Anna's role as our new American Navigator. Okay, so those aspirational goals going pretty well by and large.
Yep.
All right, Brian, over to you.
All right, so we'll just give a quick update. Again, we've been showing this to you every time we have a board meeting, but we have come up with our own goals on a lot of our engagements with job seekers and with businesses. So you can see here that we wanted to have at least 600 unique engagements with businesses. So this might mean that we've engaged with a business 5 times throughout the year. That's going to count as 5 times, but we've passed our goal. So John, this does not mean we're not going to talk to businesses the rest of the year though, right? So, we're overachieving, but we didn't really have a reference point other than some previous year's data that we've tracked. But we're pretty proud of this, and this is props to our whole business service team and Jake and Bianca, especially that we've had phenomenal activity continuing with our job fairs and our Talent Tuesdays, but just regular engagements with businesses. We are trying to capture that. So we're giving ourselves credit where credit's due, because we've always talked to businesses, but it hasn't always gone into the official database that the state can recognize and show all of that. So, but if you're a business, please return our emails and phone calls too. That helps get us some numbers. But you can see there, we've hit that one. And then as far as trying to capture, okay, what does all of this mean when we're talking to job seekers and businesses? Can we actually say and take some credit and track how many job seekers we've sort of laid before employers? And you can see here, we are blasting through what we thought was a pretty ambitious goal. But again, we've got one job seeker and we've referred them 5 different companies. That's going to count as 4,416 count that we're tracking. Deronda would like us to know we have quorum.
Yeah.
So let me just finish through this
Let's finish
screen.
this out and then we'll jump back to the voting actions.
And then hiring events, we had a goal of 20. We've already hit 17 of those. So that's really impressive. Of course, we have several more planned for the rest of the year. And then workforce participation, these are the actual data presentations. Some of you on our board and some of our community partners, you guys have been attending these. And so we set out a goal between the 10 counties to have at least 75 employers participate in those. There are still 2 counties we've not offered it to. And so we're going to blast past that goal as well. And we will come back to all of that.
All right, we'll jump.
I have here a list of your recommendations. Make sure they're still up to date.
If somebody that's dialed in could mute, that would be helpful.
Oops, there we go. Oops, no, I guess. Okay, we're headed back to agenda item number 3, the approval of our June 8th minutes. Deronda sent those minutes out in our packet. And if you all should have been able to have time to review those. Does anyone have any comments or questions regarding the minutes? If not,
I make the motion that we approve the minutes.
thank you, Beverly. Do I have a second? Right, thank you very much. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And then we'll skip on over to, do we want to do the financial report? Okay, we'll skip on over to item agenda number 5 with our financial report. Thank you, Holly, for joining.
Oh, no problem. Good morning. I hope all is well. So this financials, probably that's for the 12 months. That's our fiscal year ending June 30th. And time really flew very fast. If I remember that presented a couple months back, the audited financials with the board approval and all that stuff. But this is, so it's listed as unaudited for June because our auditors is still in process to finalize it. We presented these numbers to them not exactly the same way, the different way with a lot other details, information, what that was requested, but these numbers kind of summarized for the board review at this point. So as we know that we have the annualized budget, $3.3 million for the revenue with the various budget streams received from Department of Labor, the state of Kentucky. And then we ended, so actually we spent $3.3 million, which is very good as compared to what we budgeted. So you can see that how we try to do very accurate numbers there. And we only kind of $33,000 into the variance portion is not a lot because where we have some of the contracts are multi-year, including the tornado grant that is still in continuation. So you can see the positive number there and what have you. So it means the contract did not end. We still have through December to utilize the funds. But as for overall, I mean, like the revenue wise, we kind of captured, and we all know these are the cost reimbursements program. It means we have to incur the cost to receive the revenue as well. So that's the way it was built and reported. Miss, I just want to report to you, we didn't leave any contract unutilized, those ended on 6/30/2023. That was one of the goals that we want to make sure that we maximize or optimize the contracts we receive and use that money directly for the way it's intended. So that's the revenue side. Sub-grantee, again, Ms. Career Team did a good job. Again, that's the money, $60,000. That's because the one contract is still in continuation. We receive additional money, some more for the tornado grant, but that for this year. So it means the contract is actually going through December, but whatever contract ended in 6/30, we fully utilized, and Career Team helped us utilizing those funds as well. For the board expenses, you can see pretty much on target. Actual budget last year, $861,000, but then all the lines plus and minuses, it comes to very close to the break even. And you can see the bottom line, there's no deficit. It means we captured the information well, reported everything, and hopefully we'll collect the funds, what we spent through 6/30 as well. Any questions, any concerns on this part?
I have a question. What makes up the charges under the professional charges line item?
Okay, so the professional charges is national labor time. That's they're our auditor. So that's the big bulk. So you can see our contract, 90,000 is a part of that 122, and around $25,000 for CMA audited expenses. Everything else is very minimal. So you can miss, like, these are the major charges under the professional charges. So that's all passed through. Nothing, only a couple thousand in like for everything else. But these are the major two contracts are built into that line.
Thank you very much for the clarification. I just wondered.
Any other comments?
Any other questions regarding the financial report? If not, do I have a motion to approve?
I'll motion.
Thank you, TJ. Have a second. Right, thank you, Tori. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Howard. So we'll go back to strategic goal number 1 and
Yeah, let me just ask and pull up all this again. Any comments, questions on any of the numbers so far? On the data that we're reporting? Okay. Well, again, as John said, our main focus is going to be on strategic goal number 3, but you guys know we like to give updates and highlights or what we've been up to on some of these other goals, since we do have meetings every 2 months. So we have Bianca Wilson and Jake Brown with Career Team, both serving as business service reps that are here to give us an update on some rapid response activities that they've been very busy with.
Yes, good morning, everybody, and it's a pleasure to be with you. Bianca Wilson and myself, we are business service representatives for Career Team and the South Central Workforce Development Board, which means we are rapid response coordinators. So with each board meeting, we've been updating you all closely on the rapid responses that we've been doing across our 10 counties over the last several months. And we've been very busy with that. We've updated you guys on 3 or 4 rapid responses thus far. We'll now talk about Kingsford Charcoal, which was our 5th rapid response of 2023. So you'll notice on the board, you can see there that Kingsford Charcoal submitted a rapid response warn notice to our state on June 20th of 2023. Bianca and I were very quick to get into the facility with them and set up a plan. And we noticed that due to their employees and the schedules that they have and those sorts of things, we were going to be doing a rapid response that was very similar to Emerson Electric that we updated you on in the last board meeting. So we did a partner event, and then we did a resume workshop and a job fair, and we'll update you all on that in just a moment. So you'll notice out of the 85 workers that work at Kingsford Charcoal, due to some consolidation of their operations into other facilities around the country, they were going to be laying off 62 of them. And the vast majority of those folks fall under the packaging section of their facility, a couple of operators, some engineers, some maintenance technicians, and 1 manager. And they have a 4-phase termination schedule that will start on August 25th and move through October 20th. So there will be 4 different layoff schedules for that. In terms of the geographical breakdown of Kingsford Charcoal employees, of course, you'll find that the vast majority of them are going to be from Metcalfe County and Monroe County. But we also found that there were a number of employees from Barron County as well, and then even extending into Cumberland County. So That, of course, meant, as we've done with each rapid response, when we find that, we work with the other districts to ensure that we are making representation available to those employees. So we worked with Lisa Gosser over at Lake Cumberland Area Development District to ensure there were company representation at the job fair for those folks from Cumberland County. Due to the high quality of the workforce at Kingsford, as I mentioned, we did do a 3-phase schedule. So we held a partner event on the week of July 17th. We included partners from vocational rehab, unemployment insurance, Passport Health, WKU Trio, SCWDB, and adult education. Veterans, Upward Bound, and Community Action were also there present, and we worked with them to get some information from employees over to them as well. And then we held a resume workshop during the week of July 24th. It was to our surprise, actually, that many of those employees had really strong resumes that we had already seen. So we only needed to complete about 20 to 25 resumes. And of course, we always have Shannon Gotke there to join us. She's a pleasure to work with. She's awesome, and she's very good at using the Career Edge application for Kentucky. So we used that application to complete resumes, and that was a breeze, as we know. So finally, this week, we just finished up our job fair with Kingsford. And we had over 8 companies, 2 from Barron County, 2 from the Cumberlands, 2 from Metcalfe County, 1 from Monroe, and then 1 from Allen County. So we just finished up those 2-day events, and that was a breeze as well. And many employees got really strong applications filled out for new companies. And I'm really looking forward to finding out where they landed. So I want to turn it over to Bianca really quickly, because we do want to give a special shout out to one of our board members who was a big help to us for Kingsford.
Thank you, Jake. So just as Jake has said, we had resume workshops, and we actually invited WKU Trio. So Tori, which is one of our board members, she was awesome. Her and her partner Bethany had came by. So not only were they able to assist us with resume workshops, but they also helped people that wanted to complete FAFSA that was thinking about going into a different direction than going back into work. So we enjoyed having Tori and Bethany there. So we just want to say thank you. And I know that you guys completed a FAFSA and got somebody into school. So we're very excited about that. I want to say thank you.
Yes, Tori, you dedicated a lot of your free time, so we really appreciate it. And you brought muffins, so we'd love to have you back anytime. So Ryan, if you want to change the slide real quick, I will make this very quick. I wanted to provide a couple of updates on 1 new rapid response and then 1 rapid response we updated you guys from the last board meeting for Emerson Electric. We have updates on both of those. So I'll start with Encore BG. As many of you heard, Encore BG will be doing a rapid response as well. They submitted a warn notice for 283 employees that they have on the payroll. There has been some discussion of whether those 283 are in Warren County or if they're across our state. It's our understanding that they are across the state. So 283 employees are not all in Warren County. So I want to make that clear. We are still trying to get a meeting scheduled with Encore of Bowling Green to ensure we have a plan ready to go. It's my understanding on September 30th, they will be terminating all 283 employees on their payroll. So we will try to provide you an update as quickly as we have that. So I just want to provide a quick update on that. And then finally, Emerson, we will be seeing another layoff for Emerson Electric, about 100 employees at the end of September. Our goal always was to go back in there and do another job fair with them as they get closer to their layoff time. That'll give the company a chance to hire those people, but not be too far out to where it doesn't make sense for them to hire, but also at the same time, give those employees a chance to complete different kinds of physicals or drug screenings or those sorts of things. So it's good timing. We'll do that August 15th. So that'll be next Tuesday. And we already have a commitment from 14 businesses. So we're really looking forward to an update on that. One last thing, I do want to share a quick success story because we do know that everybody loves success stories, and this really does make an impact in people's lives. And I don't want to go without mentioning that. So Tori also shared with us an awesome story from Emerson by the name of Adam Minton. He attended the workshop that we did at Emerson Electric back in June, and they chatted about the possibility of going back to school. So Tori worked with him to look up his past college credit. And he was actually very close to a degree at SCWDB. So he applied, he completed his FAFSA. He has since enrolled in fall classes at SCWDB. And Tori mentioned that she followed up with him on the phone and said he'll actually be graduating with an industrial maintenance degree in December. So he's very excited about that. So this can be a tumultuous time in the lives of the employees that we work with, but there are silver linings, there are bright spots, there are things that we can do to help them get back on their feet and transition as quickly as possible. So rapid response is a very important thing in our 10 counties. So that's all we got. And if there's any questions, we're happy to follow up with you now or later.
Jake, I think that was a really, and Bianca, that was a really good overview. A couple of comments. The rapid response it's really a vital service that we provide. We hadn't had any in the last few years, and then this year we're at 5 and counting. But I will say, the rapid response will, I mean, the company is your dance partner. So really it's the company's willingness to let us in and provide access and put together this kind of dynamic 3-phased approach is really at the discretion of the company. And so, hopefully Encore, we've been trying all week to get a hold of them. We haven't got a hold of them, but hopefully we can get a hold of them, and hopefully they'll be receptive and we can come in and provide a full suite of services. But it's really their call at the end of the day. And so, but our hope is, Emerson and Kingsford are really good models for how this can go really well and really benefit folks. That's my color commentary.
All right. Well, thanks again, Jake and Bianca, and to our partners, Tori and others with your efforts on that. So strategic goal number 2, quick update on this one. This is where we're trying to align pathways for youth that are in school and including college, and then adult job seekers as well with training programs. So again, quick overview of where we have tried to be and where we have been with engagements. So it's been very minimal so far this year that we've been able to get in front of especially large groups, but we have been in front of more than 30 high school students. But we're trying not to duplicate some efforts and some counts on some things, but we'll be able to say we've definitely been in front of more than 30, but we partner like with the chamber, and Sandra is her team is phenomenal in trying to do the SEK launch events, and they're hard at work planning that as well. And then the direct referrals, again, we were ambitious in setting just kind of targets for the beginning of the year for each, but we were also trying to see how we could supplement, and this has to be said every time, supplement not having a full-time person on staff to do this as we had for the prior couple of years with Matt Bacon. And so it obviously makes a difference when you don't have somebody fully devoted to doing this work. So if anybody knows of any grants or donations, we are always accepting those, and we'll always hire navigators and staff to be the connective tissue on these populations. But known placements, again, we know we can do better, but we focused on this goal and all of the initiatives that we have going with it at the last board meeting. So we don't have any specific update to provide, since again, today's focus will be on strategic goal number 3, which is about increasing regional workforce participation, and especially working with those individuals that have barriers. And so this gets into our focus population of reentry, new American, and transitioning military veterans. So again, I'm going to throw data on here and build this one at a time, but we've had different meetings and engagements with crowds here between the 3 audiences that you can see. And then as far as the amount of career services, so this will be individual, one-on-one help and assistance that we've done between the different populations there. And of course, her integration and being embedded with a lot of different communities. We trying to get into a more formal structure on how we can talk to them all at the same time, and we'll have some weekly orientation sessions that we're going to start actually tomorrow morning with that. And then Michael Daly is over there in Fort Campbell, getting in front of lots of soldiers and trying to take individual resumes and get those blasted out. And then with our reentry one, we'll have an exciting update here in just a moment. But we look for that number to greatly increase as we have a dedicated help back again in our region here. But you can see the known placements that we're also tracking as well. And this is very messy space because, for example, we've helped a local company with multiple people apply that were new Americans, and we've yet to get an answer from that HR contact on confirming whether the people got in or not. So we're not going to give ourselves credit where we don't think it's due, but we know that the referral has happened. And so when we can get a response, when we have a job fair and employer reports back that candidates got hired, that's what we plug into the final number there. Any questions on the overview of the efforts here? All right, we'll move into the highlights. Oh, you have one, sir?
Well, I was just gonna say on the reentry efforts, my company, Kentucky Chrome Works, has had what we call our second chance program for a number of years. And what we're finding is that there is a lack of available candidates at, we deal primarily with the Hart County Jail. Only state inmates are eligible for this program, and only non-violent felons are eligible for this program. But we have dissipated down from a high of 34 earlier this year to 15. Okay, and what we've discovered is that the local county jails are just not getting the population that they were getting from the state earlier, that the state is assigning these inmates to regional jails. Okay, and so in our case, they're just not available. Okay, we could hire 15 of them tomorrow. And these inmates, you know, except for the health and dental and vision benefits, receive the exact same pay as a regular employee. So it's they got a little piece of change, you know, when they do get released. They've paid their literal debts to society because the jail David Osborne, the Speaker of the House, about this change in procedure, and hopefully we can get more inmates assigned to the local county jails so that we can continue to support this program. But like I say, it's going from a time of plenty when we had 34, 35 people there, now that we can barely get what we need to satisfy that requirement.
Well, thank you for making us aware. Yeah, we definitely want to put eyes and a laser focus on that. So I think we'll be able to supplement maybe with some other ways in the meantime while that administrative change gets worked out. So yeah, you'll hear probably the most exciting update on that in a bit about how we can help with that. So yeah. All right, thank you. So we want to also just do a couple of highlights on our New American population. So Anna St. Christoffel will be providing our New American Navigator an update on that.
Maybe.
Okay, there's someone that is asking for me, but is okay, thank you. So good morning, happy Thursday. I'm Anna St. Christoffel. I'm New American Workforce Navigator for South Central Workforce Development Board. And we are so happy, so proud to have the second net is New American Job and Education Fair that will be in August 24. This job fair is especially for New American job seekers with different English level. In these events will participate 13 different employers, 13 different new American friendly companies that they have experience to work with new Americans, but it's not only to work with new Americans. They already have supported and have given different opportunities and still giving opportunities at us at New American job and career opportunities. And also will participate, will be present, different partners, for example, Career Team, Career Center, Sky CTC Technical College, Western Kentucky University, Adult Education, and other. So we'll provide around 13 or more than seven languages with the different cover, more than 7 different languages with many different interpreters. For example, a Spanish interpreter, Karini, Burmese, Swahili, and Pashto and Dari and other interpreters. So this event, believe me, will be a very nice, activity, a very great activity that we can demonstrate that we work as a team. But it's not only team that is South Central with different, partner. It's all different communities, all different community leaders that will involve in this process, and they organize to support this event and support and promote this event. So we can say that we work all together with the only goal that we have is support New Americans, different New Americans communities, and help them to build a new future here in the United States. Any other commentary?
I'll just say that my wife tagged me on Facebook and showed that Dayton, Ohio is doing a fair in September. That is a New American Job and Education Fair. So we're keeping up with Dayton, just so everybody knows. I mean,
No, they're keeping up with us.
exactly, maybe that's the way it should be. Well said, yes.
So we really invite you to participate in this event or promote this event, because it's very, very important for all our community. Here in Warren County, we have around 8 different New Americans communities. And we are one of the only place I can say that all my different trips around the United States that we can incorporate these new employers at our job field. I continue. So in all this time, we could support, help, and personally assisted at a lot of New Americans. So we have many different stories. But in my point of view, this story especially took my attention. So let me introduce Alejandro Zamorano. He's originally from Honduras. He has been here in the United States in Bowling Green for more than 10 years. He came here looking for a dream, He learned English, he worked hard, he started to work at an entry level in different companies. In one of these companies, he worked for more than 8 years. But despite that he improved his English, despite that he worked hard or he got more experience, he was still at entry level with a no competitive salary. So he came at our office looking for more opportunities, looking for better opportunities. So after the first meeting that we had, we created an individualized plan for him, starting to build his resume. We made a lot of application, online application through his resume, and he coaching him to pass the different interview. And the first interview arrived, with one of the good company. The rate of this company is between $15 to $25 per hour. He went at this interview at the same day, he received a job offer for $25 per hour. The maximum. So I don't know in this moment is the result is because he applied online through his resume, or he went to his interview with his resume, and the person that made the interview could see all his skill and all his experience, or because we coaching him to go to the interview with branding, Leslie, nonverbal communication to present in this interview, or because he was more confident, he has more confidence on himself, or all together. But he was very happy. He couldn't believe, not only for money, the maximum, it's because finally the system recognized his effort. And we can do it. We can, give at our participant more opportunities, give at our participant different tools. And instead of them, they took these opportunities, they took this, this different tool and build a better future for them that Alejandro did. Thank you.
All right, well done, Anna. Thank you. Okay, so,
I don't know why I signed up to follow that.
yeah, exactly.
All right.
Brian,
Yes,
sorry, I just raised my hand real quick. If you don't care to go back just to the network flyer real quick, and then I'll hand it over to my buddy AA Ron. But I would encourage every single board member who can attend this event, even if it's for 15 or 20 minutes, please come and see the good work that is happening. Last year's event was incredible. We had great turnout. We had great people. There was lots of energy. This is the kind of event you want to attend. So I will be continuing to promote it on social media, but please, I encourage all of you, if you're able just to drop in for a few minutes, it really will make your day.
Good point.
yep. So our last year's event was in November and we're already doing it in August, but part of that was because of the timing. A lot of the employers just didn't have a lot of available jobs until earlier in the year. So we've learned our lesson and we want to do it and we could maximize it. So biggest question we got when we finished in November was, when are you doing it again? So, yeah.
All right, so I'm going to jump in. I'm going to talk about putting Kentuckians first. And so, we've been talking about this for quite all year. We've been talking about Aaron quite a bit, and Aaron's joined us today. As everybody should be familiar with Aaron. Aaron did such a good job as our lead person for reentry that it was recognized by the state. On May 1st, they pulled him up and made him the executive director of a new initiative called Putting Kentuckians First. And that initiative is funded through the Office of Adult Education. So while all that was going on personally with Aaron and kind of naming him and putting him in place, there was also a conversation going on between, myself, the Cumberland's workforce and Kentucky Adult Ed about the possibility of funding 3 navigators. And so, those discussions progressed, and the way that the Office of Adult Ed needed to handle it was they needed to they had the money for it, but they needed to subcontract for it. And so I volunteered us to do that. So let's go forward a slide and build again. Yeah, so what happened was we entered into a contract with Adult Ed for $275,000, and that $275K funds 3 full-time positions. There's also money in there earmarked. The navigators are going to have to travel. There's some training allocated in there. There's some cell phone reimbursement and some communication money allocated within that. And there's also $11,700 earmarked for admin. So that, for me, that admin is what we will use at the board level. That helps cover the cost of these positions in terms of putting them into our payroll system, paying for their email accounts. There'll be a little bit of surplus there that again we can use to just offset some of our costs for providing administrative oversight of the positions. The technicality on this is the Cumberlands, they'll have 2 full-time positions and we'll have 1. Michael Updegraft is here today, and he is the gentleman that went through an arduous interview and selection process and was selected to be the South Central Pudding Kentuckians First Navigator. So we're proud to introduce him today. I was not on the interview panel, but all the interview panelists were blown away by Mike, and we're really excited to get somebody of his caliber come onto the team. Aaron, let me see if you want to add anything to this conversation.
We all know that I'm shy to talk to you all, so no, I'm super happy to have Michael come on board. He's a resident of South Central, and really what we've built and what you all as a board have supported in building, there's enough work for multiple people, but finally to have somebody that is hyper focused in the South Central region, not only for the Pudding Kentuckians First program and efforts, but just the reentry space as a whole is tremendously valuable. And looking down and saying like, hey, we have a local representative with state resources. And that's really what the value, I think, of how we were able to fund the positions for them to be seated at the local workforce board. But I and my branch are able to support them in many different ways, right? Really our branch strategic goals, they are aligned with the education labor cabinet's goals. So everything that we're going to be doing and the progress that's going to be made, that I know that Michael's going to make, because 4 days in and he's already getting some wheels turning and doing the right things. It's just going to continue to grow and be awesome. And so I'm very pleased with that. Like I said, we're happy to have him. I can't wait to see the impact that he's going to have. And really, I want to give a shout out to Kentucky Chrome. This story was probably not when the individual was talking to me. We had a welder's graduation over here in the Cumberlands about 3 weeks ago. And I was talking to a young man that had participated in the work release program at Kentucky Chrome when he was lodged at the Hart County jail. This young man said that job and working there helped him pay off $32,000 of back child support before he was transferred over to Pulaski County Jail, where again, he took advantage of the resources that were being offered to him. He has graduated with a welding certificate. He has started work at a different facility, a different employer. But I think by now, it's been a couple weeks, all of his child support is up to date and he's good. And he was just talking, and we talked in depth about how his family and where that child support was going was so valuable and so necessary for his kids, that previously and without employers like Kentucky Chrome and programs like that it would have not happened. So I applaud Kentucky Chrome for being being that trailblazer with programs like this, and allowing us to help and support and to be a part of that. So like I said, welcome, Michael. That's your point of contact. That's your go-to guy now. So I appreciate it. Thank you all.
You want to say a few words, Michael, or say hello?
No, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to not only transition to this role to help all Kentuckians, but specifically right here in South Central. Being from South Central, living in South Central, having those connections, I think that together we can really make a solid impact in our communities and really dig in and start helping this underserved demographic. So thank you.
Okay.
All right, okay, so let's talk military. And I've talked about this in the past, and I just want to give an update on it. So Mike Daly is doing yeoman's work down there at Fort Campbell, is getting in front of a lot of folks. And most of the conversation that he has had so far has been about direct employment. Where we're trying to spread our wings and where we're trying to go next with this program is to also have him offer up internship opportunities with South Central Kentucky employers. So there's a Department of Defense policy that allows a service member that's in their last 6 months of duty to step away from the military for up to 16 weeks to do an internship with an employer. And so we're starting to get into that space and see if we can facilitate internship opportunities over here. We'll identify local companies that want to host, and then we'll try to do some matchmaking. So one of the things that we did last November was we actually applied through My Workforce Future, one of our nonprofits, to be an internship intermediary. So it's been an 8-month application process so far. But what we're trying to set ourselves up to do is once we get final approval, we'll leverage My Workforce Future to act as an internship intermediary and facilitate and start trying to facilitate internships. And I think the value there is the soldiers that want to do internships tend to be much more serious. They want to work, they want to get experience before they get out of the military, and they know they generally know what they want to do. So they're in terms of quality, you're getting somebody that's leaning in and wants to do it. So that's good. And the other thing that we know is if we can get somebody over here to our communities in South Central Kentucky, they're going to love it. They're going to be really impressed with our communities, with our quality of life, with our schools, with our shopping, our dining, our recreation, and that makes it much easier to convince somebody to come here. And so again, that's another important aspect of the internship component. And then one other aspect is if somebody can, when you're in the military and you're on Fort Campbell or Fort Knox or anywhere else, you're in a military bubble and you don't have a professional network. You don't know anybody. And when you can break somebody away and get them into an internship, not only can they learn aspects of a new industry and they start learning the language of the new industry, they can also start to develop personal relationships and start to build a network outside of the military. So even if they don't come here, even if it's not the right fit at the right time with that company, they're putting something on the resume. They've got somebody, they've got somebody in the industry that they can go back to as a professional, as a professional and a mentor to try to continue on. Maybe here, maybe somewhere else. So anyway, that's what we're leaning into. We're right now we're not quite there. We're really close, but we've got a service member that wants to do an internship with the Bowling Green Police Department. And the Bowling Green Police Department wants to host him. And so right now we're working through getting that set up. Hopefully by the next board meeting, the service member will be in the internship and we can report on that. So anyway, that's an update on kind of how we're trying to expand it into some new territory with our efforts at Fort Campbell. Any questions on that? Okay. Yikes, numbers. Okay, as promised up front, we're gonna provide over the next 3 slides, we're gonna provide a lot of feedback to you on how we spent money during program year 22, which I'll say again was July 1st of 2022 through June 30th of 2023. We want to make sure we're open and transparent and showing you exactly what we did and where we did it. And so, between Jessica and I, we'll provide some explanation of the numbers you're seeing, and we'll provide some context. We'll answer questions. Brian and I, we are putting this, we're going to put this into a more formal report. that has a little bit of context and narrative, and so that's not quite finished, but we anticipate getting that pushed out here pretty soon as a follow-up to this meeting. As you look at this first slide, what we're portraying here is on the left is our 10 counties. And then the second column over PY20 WIOA spending. So this is our WIOA funds, our adult, dislocated worker and youth funding. And you can see how we spent that money in each of the 10 counties in this time period. In the middle column is the tornado money. We got a substantial amount of tornado funds following the tornado that ripped through our region in December of 2021. And so you can see how that money was allocated per county, and then out to the right is the total per county. So just in this time period, this 1 year time period, we had 1.14 million kind of flow through and down to participants. And this money funded training or work experience internships or on the job training, or and some of it went towards supportive services. And that's what we're going to show you next.
Well, and I'll just add that if you look at the first column to the left, the WIOA, that is the normal amount that this board would be stewarding.
If we didn't have tornado, that would be what a normal year would look like.
So we had $800,000 dumped in our lap, pretty much, that our board and career team had to steward and utilize. And we're, like Holland said in the financial report, we're trying to exhaust all of it as it comes in, and they've even renewed it. But we only have that, as we know, until the end of December. But we'll continue to track, and Jessica does a phenomenal job tracking all of, doing the breakout here. But imagine if your business was operating at 100% and then you were asked to almost have triple the amount of business come in the door. And that's pretty much a sense of how the last year has happened. Did I say that right to everybody on career team and the board? I mean, so a lot more activity than we would normally keep up with and steward. And national label to keep up with.
John, on a macro level, not a micro detail, okay, but on a macro level, why are Allen, Logan, and Monroe so pathetically low?
I've been waiting on this question. Bob, that's a great question. We've tracked like this the last couple of years, and I will tell you, Allen and Logan have been pretty low the last couple of years. It's a little bit of push-pull. We've got this money.
You have to want help before you.
Well, that's part of it, right? That's part of it, right? That's exactly right. We can only enroll the people that come through our doors and come say we need help. And so, we're trying to get out and get into these counties and make our services known and make ourselves known and solicit and draw them in. But we also, at the same time, I would say that I also ask, board members and elected officials and anybody else, if you got folks, send them our way. At the end of the day, you can only enroll the people that come to you. And I would say, your example is really low, but I would tell you percentage wise, Hart, Metcalf, and Barron, we overperform in those three counties. So we're underperforming in three, we're overperforming in three, and then everybody else is kind of the middle. No, my goal, and I haven't done it this year, but I've, in the past, I've tried to like break it out, by population and say, okay, here's what we ought to allocate per county based on, population. And we try to set goals and get into those counties. We did this last year, but we don't hit the goals the way I want us to hit in some of these counties.
May I speak to this for just a second?
Sure.
Something I've seen in these counties specifically is if someone is pursuing post-secondary education, they most of the time qualify for a Pell Grant, CAP grant that covers everything, and they don't need to pursue WIOA. But, occasionally they run into a situation where they might do CDL or lineman school, and they might need to use WIOA funds, but most of the time they get full Pell because their income is so low.
Mm-hmm. It just surprised me that Allen is as low as it is. I think there are socioeconomic explanations maybe for Monroe, but Logan too. Logan and Allen just seem low to me.
And it has been, I mean, and it's not been for lack of trying on our part. Yeah. Matt, can we look at this? I mean, we track numbers very closely, and Jess can tell you, Matt can tell you, I mean, and career team will tell you, I mean, okay, why are we, what, we're not spending an Allen Logan and in our meetings and our weekly meetings, we're often talking about this. How do we get in there and do better?
See Matt's comment.
Yeah. let's
Is it-
pull that up.
Yeah, tornado funds were not available for all counties. All right, let's, pending any other questions, we'll go to the next slide where we're gonna okay, so now what we're looking at is we're looking at more specifically the training that we funded, plus the internships, the on-the-job training supportive services and how that broke out. So again, we're looking at this 1 year time period between both pots of money. You can see it's there on the left, the number by far and away, CDL is the most popular thing that we fund. Sky CTC is the primary training provider. There is another training provider in Barron County. There's a total of 2 in the region, but funded 98 people in this time period. Had a couple not finish, have 4 that are still in training. We still have 20 that are looking for employment. This is a little bit of an aberration. We normally don't have so many not employed at this point. Over the last couple of years, nearly everybody we put through CDL got a job, so we're having to work through that. And then 67 employment outcomes. When you look at the 98 that we funded, it cost us $395,000 and change. And just trying to measure economic impact, if you consider that the average entry-level wage that somebody's getting is $49,000, which I think is pretty modest. And you multiply it times the 67 people that got jobs, that adds up to 3.28 million in salary and economic impact. And if you multiply out all those that still haven't got a job yet, the 20 that still haven't got a job yet, assuming they get a job, that would add 1.176 million into the economy. So you can see, looking at the rest of it, a number of healthcare funding options, web development, lineman training, heavy equipment, and dental assistant. Looking down left, you can see that we funded 36 internships, 34 disaster relief, and 9 OJTs. Jessica, is there anything you'd want to point out on this?
I would like to add where it says disaster relief, this was considered disaster relief employment for some of the businesses that were impacted, some of the businesses in the counties that were impacted by the tornado. So it was actually somewhat of a work experience / internship, but it's directed toward getting everyone in those community the resources that they needed.
So the WACs, internships, the disaster relief, the OJT, that's where employers can directly benefit because the way those are structured is we're subsidizing that. And so the employer's getting somebody that needs help, the employer's taking them on and putting them to work, but we're subsidizing it.
Yeah, and Matt's made some additional comments about some of the starting wages that some of those CDL drivers or graduates have obtained. So yeah, we're being very conservative to say 49,000. I did a presentation months ago to a group of pastors, and one of the people spoke up and said, oh no, they can get like $65,000 on average starting. And I was like, how's this guy know it? Well, it turns out he's an instructor at Sky CTC for one of the CDL classes. So he knows, okay. He didn't say that to his
We meet every month as a whole team. And Jessica leads this effort, but we collect lots and lots of data. And one of the data points that we collect is how are we spreading out across the counties and engaging in county specific conversations. And so everybody on my team and then Matt's team with, her team, we come back once a month and we run the tallies and we just kind of keep track of it. So you can see, just looking at the top, and there were 128 individual engagements in or about Allen County. Those 128 engagements, when we captured staff time involved, that's 186.75 hours. And then we're running basically everybody's self-reporting, and we kind of figure out what each person's hourly wages, and we can come up with that 186.75 staff hours equated to $55,415 of staff time towards Allen County. And so you can kind of see the numbers across the region. Again, it's not distributed completely evenly, but we are getting out, and we are getting out and working each one of these counties. I think a couple of things really kind of drove the numbers up this year. If you compare it to the previous year. One is this year we had a couple more staff that we were counting than we did in the previous year. So in the previous years, we did not count all of career team staff as well as we should have. This year, we've done a better job of counting their numbers. So there's a couple more numbers included in it. We have statistically had a lot more engagements, which means we have been spreading out, and we've been spending more and more time in counties than over the previous year, which has been a stated objective. And then of course, more people, and with some salary increase. Everybody, I think, has experienced some level of salary increase, which obviously drives up your labor market or your labor value a little bit. But the good news here is we are, again, not perfectly, but pretty well, we're getting out and we're investing in each of these counties. One other thing, I think one other factor here is, again, we mentioned earlier, we've had 5 rapid responses, and so and they have been spread out. And so, if you look at Logan County, 107 hours, I would venture to say quite a few of those hours were tied up in the 3 different rapid response engagements that were over there, where we had multiple staff in there supporting Emerson.
I did it in my head, John, 180 hours, I would say, over 3 days, 3 weeks, 10 hours a day. So that's a lot.
That doesn't add it. That math doesn't add up on here, but
for estimated.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Okay. I got you. Yeah. I was looking at engagements, not hours. 180 hours.
Yeah. Something to that degree.
Wow. All right. So any questions about that?
You guys thought we only did numbers on the budget, but look at this. We can hit you in all kinds of different ways with numbers. But a lot of this is just transparency, right? We owe you this information, but if we can't spend it on participants, it's being spent with effort in the counties. And Shannon Gaki, who goes to a different access point or a different county all the time, our own staff meetings. But just to say, if we have a meeting that, and Matt's already kind of indicated this in chat, but if there's a meeting or just our weekly staff meetings, I mean, we are focused and talking about things and projects, but we don't count that towards the spreadsheet. So we may be regurgitating a meeting or strategy.
A couple of years ago, there was a little bit of criticism that there was a suggestion that we were only devoting our attention to one particular county. And I knew that wasn't the case. And so it's like, okay, well, then we're just going to start keeping track of this, because I knew we were spreading out and doing that kind of engagement across the region, but we just needed to track it and present it, and which is what we've been doing for 3 years now.
And we will still go where we were invited. So, yep. All right, we have strategic goal number 4, and John, this continues to be you with the updates here. So take a drink.
And are we on time?
Yeah, we're more or less on time.
Okay, we're on time. Okay, let me hit the goals. The first goal strategic goal number 4 is all about return on investment, delivering quality return on investment, and I call it our accountability goal. You know, we have to be good stewards of this funding, federal funding that we receive, and we're accountable to the board and to our judge executives on how we steward these funds. So first goal we set at the beginning of the year is I wanted to secure more dislocated worker grant funds, which we met this goal very early on, as early as late January. But I'm happy to report that just last week we were given another $400,000 in tornado funds. So that's the good news. Again, until told otherwise, we have to expend that money by the end of December. So that goal has been easily met for a while now. Next, rebalance spending strategy. Again, at the beginning of the year, we felt like we needed to carry over about $170,000 into the first quarter being July 1st. We didn't quite carry over that amount, but and this was a lot of work with career team. We ended up carrying over around 120K plus or minus a little bit. I think, you know, we're still kind of settling out what the final number will be, but I think we all agree with career team that the amount we carried over is satisfactory. We needed to carry over enough to get us through the first quarter because we as an organization will not receive our full funding until October, November timeframe. So we needed to have an amount to carry over to get us through the first 3 months of the program year. Next was the Workforce Board's a nonprofit, and we are kind of alone and unafraid. We're not baked into an area development district or any other entity. And so with Deronda's help, we have been looking at every expense that we've got. We've been trying to figure out where we can shave cost, save money, and so forth. So I had set a goal at the beginning of the year. Can I find a way to reduce or offset our expenses by $25,000? We're not there, but we're doing pretty well. I've got a plan in place to offset salaries by $14,000. We have saved about $4,000 in subscription costs and cancellations and renegotiation, and through some, you'll see here in a minute, I've used some employee funding, some private funding, to $2,000 worth to pay some business insurance. Just I had the money, and it's just $2,000 less that we owe that I'm using and other funding source to pay that. Next goal, clean external audit. We're in the midst of that external audit. We've had our auditors on site twice already. They should wrap up their audit probably in the next 3 to 4 weeks. The audit committee will meet and they will receive a full-on back brief on the results of the audit. That'll happen in September. And then we will roll into the October board meeting, and the full board will hear a summarized version of the audit. And then state audit. So the state audit has been completed since the beginning of June. It went very, very well. There was one small finding, and that finding was quickly resolved by career team. And so, I'm happy to report that that audit is complete and went very, very well. Okay, what I want to do is I'm going to spend a few minutes and I want to talk about the 2 nonprofits that are affiliated with the Workforce Board, and really tie it up to show you how we're utilizing these nonprofits to help offset some of our budget, and it will augment some of our budget and alleviate some of the pressure we're feeling because we, as I've reported in the past, our projected budget is going to be down 9 to 10% this year over last year on the federal side. And so that's a very steep cut, and we're trying to figure out ways that we can alleviate some of that pain we're feeling with a deep budget cut from the federal funding. So first, I want to talk about My Workforce Future. So My Workforce Future is a nonprofit that was established back in 2019, and when it was established, its primary mission was to facilitate work-based learning. That was how it was chartered. There's a 3-person board of directors that oversee My Workforce Future. And really to summarize what we've been doing with My Workforce Future over the last couple of years is really two things. One was from 2021 to 23, we had built out a website called Kentucky Area Resources, or CARES for short. And it was a website. It was basically a resource navigation website. And the way we had set it up is, we had it active in Hart County. So Hart County Fiscal Court and a couple other folks liked what they saw, and they funded us to build out a Hart County resource navigation tool. It was built out for Barron County, it was built out for Monroe County, and then it was built out for 3 counties in the Cumberlands, and in each of those fiscal courts paid into that. Kind of what happened is, as putting Kentucky first kind of took on more and more prominence, it really started to unravel the use of CARES. And so we basically shuttered CARES earlier this year, and all those contracts had come to an end, and we had shuttered that thing. And then the other thing we had been doing up through really just a couple of weeks, well, really through the end of June, is we had been providing web development training. We had kind of entered into the space of being a training provider and providing web development coding training under the brand of Commonwealth Coders. Let's go forward a slide. So the major update that I'll share here is that earlier this spring, I was approached by a technology company that also does web development training, and they do cybersecurity training. And this is a company out of Ohio, and they had designs on coming into Kentucky. And they approached me and really just asked, can we purchase? We love your brand. They recognized that Commonwealth Coders was a brand that was, we had students from all over the state. We had statewide there was statewide awareness, and the brand had become well known. And so they just approached me about purchasing the brand. They didn't want the curriculum, they just wanted the brand. And so after some negotiation, and Regina Jackson, our legal counsel, really helped me out with this. We entered into a contract a couple of weeks ago to sell the brand, which included both our website and our social media, and to this company. And so the contract really has 2 components. There's the component of purchasing the brand, and there's a secondary component where they could get up to 10 hours of consulting per month from the My Workforce Future president, which is me. I don't think it's going to come close to 10 hours per month, but there is that clause in there. So there is like any contract, there's a stipulation in there about what I can and can't say. So I won't say how much, but it's a good amount, and the money will be spread out over a couple of years. So the impact here is that, again, we're talking My Workforce Future. Last year and again this year, we have a service agreement in place between My Workforce Future, not the nonprofit, and EmployWord, the other nonprofit that I'll talk more about in a minute. And the service agreement is that My Workforce Future will pay EmployWord $18,000 a year for services. Those services include administration, overseeing payroll, and other administrative aspects. It will oversee marketing and outreach, and then there's a consulting component of the contract. So the My Workforce Future board has approved the service agreement, and EmployWord's board has approved the service agreement. So there's $18,000 a year that will move between those 2 nonprofits. So from My Workforce Future to EmployWord. And I'll get to why that's important in a minute. Okay, now let's shift to EmployWord. So EmployWord was first established in 2016. It was established at the exact same time that the board was established. They were set up in parallel. The board is your entity that handles your federal funding, the WIOA component of what we do, and EmployWord was established to establish the non-federal funding piece of this. And if you look at the second bullet, the purpose, it was set up to help us diversify our funding, because that's what innovative workforce boards do. You don't just have one federal funding source. you need a mechanism to take on donations or grant money or revenue or something like that. So, so what I'll say is, you know, if you look at 2016 to 2021, you know, there was some activity with this entity. There was a modest fund diversification there. We had Dr. Boone had secured a fairly large private donation. We had applied and received 2 different Dollar General grants, literacy grants. And so when we got those grants, we put that money into Employeward, into that separate account. And we had executed a couple of very small professional service grants or professional service contracts where we made a couple $1,000. So some activity, but starting in 2022, we really started to ratchet this up. I wanted to really drive more private funding revenue because the writing has been on the wall for some time that the federal funding is going to continue to decline. So let's build on this. So what that's kind of looking like as an example. So in terms of grants and contracts, you know, the $72,000 a year that we get from Michael's position at Fort Campbell that comes from Warren County and City of Bowling Green, when those checks come in, they route through Employeward. They go into the private account. And so really all there to fund his position, and you know, it's coming in, that's going right back out. It's passing through to pay for his employment. We've received up to we've received $13,000 between the $2 general literacy grants, and we've spent some of that so far. We've been working on some literacy projects, and so we still have about 9,900 remaining. But that money, again, it's private. It's non-federal money that's operating over here in this space. I mentioned earlier we've got a grant out. You know, if we get it, that could fund Anna's position. That grant was written in partnership with Kentucky Anna Works, which is the workforce board in Louisville, and the Jewish Family and Career Services. And it was written to the Office of Refugee Resettlement. It's a $350,000 grant. If it comes through, we would get about 100,000 of it. If we get it, if we get that money, it's going to go through Employeward. We're not going to mix that in with our federal funds. In terms of revenue and professional services, this is just a snapshot through the first of the year, and I'm proud of this because a couple of years ago, we really weren't generating any type of money like this. But so far, we've had about 17,500 come through from the My Workforce Future Service contract that I described a few minutes ago. We've made about 5,500 off of hiring events this year, 9,300 off of New American Placement Services, which I'll explain, and then a little over 500 in document translation services. Okay, let me go into some more detail on some of these revenue things that we've been doing. So we talked about the network job and education fair earlier, and earlier we said 13 employers at $200 each. So we think that, you know, this will generate about $2,600. Now, some of that money is going to go right back out for advertising. Some of it's going to go right back out for food. And, you know, if we have to pay for translators, and we think we might have to pay for a couple, then we'll end up paying for translators out of that. So we won't keep it all, but we'll be able to keep some of that. Next, Talent Tuesday. So, you know, we have a variety of free job fairs that we do. All the rapid responses are free. But we do have a branded version of the job fair. We call it that we've dubbed Talent Tuesday. We did it all last year. We're doing it again this year. When we move the Talent Tuesday, our goal is to have a Talent Tuesday event in every county in our region. But what makes us a little bit different is we charge $75 per employer, $25 per community partner. But we really do heavy promotion to try to drive job seekers to the event. We buy lunch for the employers. So we've only done 4 this year. We've kind of, some of this has been hijacked by the rapid response that we've had to do. So we've had to cancel several Talent Tuesdays because we've had to do the rapid response instead. But with the 4 events we've done, we've had 49 employers and we've made a little over $2,900 so far this year. Okay, next. Okay, the New American Placement Services. This is something really new that we're venturing into and is very, very promising. So Anna has placed a lot of people this year. But one of the things that we kind of stumbled into was with one company in particular, she has placed 80, maybe 90 people. But to place those 80 or 90 people with this one company required an immense amount of what I call handholding. It's not only identifying them and preparing them and screening them, but she took them on tours into the plant just so they could see, smell, feel, understand that they were getting into. And then the HR department wanted her to be there to come on and help with onboarding and translating and helping people get their email accounts set up, help get their payroll system set up. They even gave her access to the payroll system. So she was taking a lot of, not only was she getting everybody in there and making sure it's a good fit, but she was taking a lot of work off of the HR department. And so we just approached that company because they kept telling us like, oh my God, she's amazing, which she is, Anna is. We said, well, in the back of my mind, I know that Anna's grant ends in December. And I don't have, unless I get this grant, which we won't find out for a while now, for 6 weeks, I got to come up with a way to keep her on the team and keep her doing this level of work. And so we approached them about the idea of paying for this level of service. This is because what she's doing is above and beyond what anybody in the Career Center would do, what any staffing agency would do, what anybody would do. It's an immense level of hand-holding and preparation of work. And they said yes. And so we entered into a service agreement with this one company. An example of the way it's structured, and I'm saying example because I don't want to divulge the actual amount, but the way it's structured is we're going to get, in this example, $750 per person, but that's going to get split. That gets split over 2 payments. The first payment is what we call the day 1 invoice. So the bulk of, so in this example, $450 for each person she takes in. So if she takes in 10, if they order 10 and she takes in 10 and they hire all 10, we're going to charge them $4,500. And she is, and 90% of her work, 95% of her work has been getting them to that point. But what the company asked us to do was to have a concession because they were worried about retention. What if they paid all this money and they didn't retain? And so we worked out an arrangement where there would be a second invoice on day 31 because the company told us, hey, if we know we can get somebody here and keep them for 30 days, statistically, we hang on to them for quite a while. So the concession was, okay, we'll do a day 31 invoice for a lesser amount. And the way it's structured is if going back to the 10 folk, if 8 of the 10 retained through the first 30 days, then we only charge for the 8 that retained. And we don't charge for the 2 that dropped out in the first 30 days. And the company thought that was fair. So we've had this in place since the end of June. And right now we're still working through, we have about $9,300 in accounts receivable. We haven't actually got the money in yet. We're having to work through. This company typically doesn't pay out for 45 days after an invoice. And so even though in the contract, we asked to be paid quicker than that. Anyway, it's neither here nor there. We got just off of, this is delivering 18 people, $9,300 in accounts receivable. And there's more coming. And I anticipate signing a second service agreement with another company today. We reached an agreement late yesterday, and they should be sending over the contract today. So I think I'm going to have a second company in the works. And I think if we can have somewhere between 5 or 6 contracts total, it's not many, that we can easily fund Anna, and I don't have to rely upon the good graces of a grant provider to come through. So it's very exciting. It has a lot of potential. It's a much different model. And the last thing I'll say on this is not a staffing model. We're not talking when we talk to the companies, it's like, hey, these folks that we're helping, they've been in a cycle of staffing agency jobs. They've been in a cycle of entry level. We want to break that. We want them, the contract is that we're bringing them to you for full-time employment with benefits. And so it's a new model. It takes some, I think not every company can adjust to this yet, but it's meant to be a win-win. And again, I mean, just what happened here just a little bit ago, somebody walks in unannounced to see Anna, and this happens all day long. We've had to put a kiosk outside of her door to trying to track everybody that's coming in. So anyway, I wanted to spend a little time on that. That's new and exciting, and hopefully will go the way that I'm projecting. We'll see. Next and last, and then the other thing that we've been dipping our toe into the water is we've recognized there's a huge need for document translation, both for individuals and for employers. And there's not really anybody providing this service. And so we've done a little bit of this already on the personal level. Laura has been doing some in a 1099 contract capacity that runs through us, has done a few document translations, and they tend to be, oh gosh, what have we done? Yeah, the diplomas, birth certificates, yeah. So you can see kind of the rate that we've charged. Those are very fair rates from the research we've done, and we've made a little bit over 500. And we've had several conversations with companies. We really have not advertised this. We haven't promoted it, but we've had companies come to us and say, yeah, we really need to translate our employee handbook into Spanish or into another language. We haven't really moved forward with that yet, but we're going to because there's a need. I mean, I think some of this stuff you could probably find somebody on the internet to do it for you, but we want to be able to have somebody, a live person that's capable of doing it, offer that level of service. So we'll see where that goes. Okay, this is my last slide to wrap all this up. So I've talked about my Workforce Future and Employer and how I've been moving money between those two. And I've talked to the board for some time about, the need to diversify funding and the need to offset some of our WIOA. So here's just kind of a snapshot of how we've offset WIOA so far this year, since January 1st. And so, kind of down the left are different things that we've funded with non-federal funds, non-WIOA funds. In the middle is kind of the running total year to date, and then kind of what I think we'll be at towards the end of the year. But so if you look at my salary, this is not, so, the board votes on my salary, but of my total salary, the board has approved that 7,000 of it comes from employer, comes from private funding. So the year-to-date total is there in the middle, but at the end of the year, at the end of this calendar year, $7,000 of my salary will have come from private funds and not WIOA. So therefore, saving WIOA or easing a little bit of that WIOA pressure. I'm getting started through that. We're getting started with Leslie's. We're gonna save about. I'm gonna offset Leslie's salary by $3,500 by the end of the year. I did pay for one of our lease payments at this location with private funds. I had the money and I did it. I did pay for a business insurance, as I mentioned earlier. That was an annual business insurance payment that needed to be made. I used private funds instead of WIOA for it. Didn't have to, but just we had the money, and again, I'm trying to slowly increase the amount of private funding that we're using, and then office supplies and miscellaneous, you can see there. So last year, this would have been, there wouldn't have been any money here really moving across, but now that we're generating money and we're getting money, we're starting on this journey of augmenting and offsetting some of our WIOA costs. So that's it on this part of the presentation. I will pause for questions, comments, concerns.
So I have a question. So if I understood correctly, Employer has a separate board?
Yes.
From the other, correct?
Correct. Employer has its own board. My Workforce Future has its own board. So the difficulty in this is I'm reporting to 3 boards, technically. Each one has its own oversight. Now, those boards don't meet nearly as often, but again, I'm going through, I'm trying to do everything by the book and make sure that I get their decisions and get their blessing on the things that I've portrayed. But I don't think there would be any argument from this board on offsetting some of our wheel expenses.
I just might use a different phrase other than moving money between accounts. It sounded like John Gotti. Well, rest of that there.
Bob, point well taken. I speak a little too extemporaneously and freely.
Yeah.
That's. The money was moved, it was legitimately moved, it's moving
I have no
legitimately.
doubt about that. I just got tickled by the phrase, Kind of like my wife and I put it over here and put it over there.
All right, we're on the back end here. I think I've got the updates here for the workforce participation. Anybody else lose sleep last night with these dang thunderstorms going through? It was a rough night, wasn't it? Well, thank you guys for your focus on the board meeting here. Like I said, we are finishing up, but we have been giving you guys updates on our efforts to present data and empower. And really, we're starting to kind of coin a term like business intelligence is really what it is. It's more than just labor market information. It's really getting into the pockets of people that exist in each county that are not in the workforce or factors affecting them. And so, again, we mentioned earlier, our goal was 75. We've gotten in front of 67. We've now been able to swipe through most of the region, and we're trying something a little different with Warren because there is such a large volume of employers. We're doing multiple dates starting next week. So we'll be doing Data Tuesdays, I guess we could call it, but for a series of Tuesdays here finishing up this month and stretching into September, we are going to invite and have been inviting Warren County businesses and a few other elected official stakeholders that we always invite to come to those data presentations. And Warren is particularly challenging, and I know Josh is still building it, but Warren has higher than average workforce participation. So you can't really say, here's the people that are not working in Warren County, although we will, but we will be focusing on just the regional data that is there, but also a little bit more of a shift to retention tactics and strategies. And so, like, I know Michelle, you were there for the Barron County one. And so we've had, really good response, really good feedback when we collect survey information from the employers. We've been out a little bit of the habit of it here in the last few weeks because we plowed through a lot of the counties, mostly in the spring and early summer, as you can see. But we do owe Simpson County a visit. And because the nature of the presentation has evolved so much from when we first did it in mid-December last year, we owe Butler County a full visit, and we need more participation. We didn't have as many attending that one either. So just kind of see, we've have an opportunity also in September to present to the National Association of Workforce Boards, like membership group called SETA. And so John had submitted a paper presentation plan for that, and that got approved. So we're going to be showcasing how other regional areas can do this, because it's not a trade secret. It's just a matter of effort and energy, and we want to share that advice. So that gets us through the agenda items. Do we have any final questions or discussions? And I'll even move forward to any public comments from any guests that we have. So this is the time to voice anything, ask anything. And again, John mentioned we'll send the data slides out that we talked about with our RIO performance and provide some context for that. So. All right. Hearing none. The next board meeting will be October 12th. I want to give props because I only see one BG-based board member in the room, and the rest of you all are coming from other counties. And so it's possible. We welcome it. We have donuts, we have coffee. We do want to be hospitable, but we thank the people that can join remotely. We'd rather have your involvement and attention than to not have it, of course, but we will continue the hybrid meeting format.
Well, thank you all for your time and attention today. If there's no further business, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.